Dear participants and colleagues, I am now going to present for 10 minutes how growers select and maintain coconut varieties in the Pacific region.
I will first describe the hard job achieved by farmers for selecting and breeding their coconut palm. Then, I will present 4 distinct, Polynesian, traditional, classifications of coconut as female and male. I will conclude by discussing the need to achieve a kind of fusion, respectful and non-destructive, between traditional knowledge and botanical and agricultural science. Most coconut growers have the practical experience of harvesting seed nuts on a coconut palm selected for a specific purpose, such as high yield, sweet coconut water, or sweet husk, and get different characteristics on the progeny. But most of them do not know why. In 2018, during the surveys for preparing the varietal catalogue of French Polynesia, I traveled to around 15 islands and atolls. I have been working on the coconut tree for more than 30 years. However, it was only when I visited Aratika Atoll in the Tuamotus that I understood how difficult and thankless the selection work carried out by the farmers was, with a low success rate. In 2023, no scientist has yet published on this subject. In Aratika, a coconut palm with soft and sweet husk, called kaipoa, was reputed to be medicinal. The husk is whitish when mature. Its owner wanted to multiply it. He collected 12 seeds from this coconut tree and planted them. He waited 10 years to see the result. Of the 12 coconut palms planted, only one of these progenies reproduced the special characteristics of its parent. Only one of the descendants produced soft and sweet coconuts. Another farmer from Aratika, by the name of Emile Juventon, owned a very rare bowl-type coconut palm. These are huge green coconuts, very rare in the Pacific, whose nuts have a flat bottom which allows them to be used as containers. He planted 80 descendants of this palm in his coconut grove. Of the 80, only one gave back a bowl-type coconut tree. The problem is that when we harvest a seed from a coconut tree, we know the mother of this seed, but we do not know its father. To select more effectively, it is necessary to understand and master the mode of reproduction of coconut trees. We will see how during this training. Although the world is currently undergoing considerable change, it is hoped that the children of farmers will continue these selection processes, as their parents did, and as it has been done for hundreds of generations. Thus, farmers have tried for millennia to create varieties of coconut palm. They succeeded, but it also failed countless times. This required immense effort. The rare times it has succeeded is that the farmers have had brilliant intuitions and great perseverance. Some farmers have benefited, consciously or not, from geographically isolating the coconut palms they have selected, for example by planting them on an isolated motu.
Among traditional knowledge, Polynesians classify coconut and coconut's palms as female and male according to 4 distinct classification systems. One female, male descriptive grouping is linked to the shape of the fruits. 2 more groupings are linked to the way of fruits germinate, and the last one is linked to the general aspect of the palm. Females are always preferred to males as planting material. The first classification is linked to the shape of the distal part of coconut husk, Fig. 1. If pointed with a small nipple, Polynesians will classify the fruit as male. If the 3 protuberances terminate by a concavity, the fruit will be called female. 3 informants from different islands told that it is much easier to remove the husk from these female fruits than from these male fruits. During traditional Polynesians festivals, competitions were organized for the speediness of removing the husk from the coconut. In Aratika, we met a winner of these competitions. He told us that he won because it was able to select these female coconuts in the heap of fruits available to participants. He also told us that the rule of these competitions was recently modified. Nowadays participants are no more selecting the fruits for removing the husk. Each of them receives a separate batch of coconut randomly selected. The first classification is linked to the shape of the distal part of coconut husk. If pointed with a small nipple, Polynesians will classify the fruit as male. If the three protuberances terminate by a concavity, the fruit will be called female. 3 informants from different islands told that it is much easier to remove the husk from these female fruits than from these male fruits. During traditional Polynesians festivals, competitions were organized for the speediness of removing the kernel from the coconut. In Aratika, we met a winner of these competitions. He told us that he won because it was able to select these female coconuts in the heap of fruits available to participants. He also told us that the rule of these competitions was recently modified. Nowadays, participants are no more selecting the fruits for removing the kernels. Each of them receives a separate batch of coconut randomly selected.
The second classification is linked to the way the sprout emerges from the husk when germinating. If the sprout emerges from the place originally occupied by the peduncle, the fruit is called female. If the sprout emerges from elsewhere, the fruit is called male. Our first observation tends to indicate that the fruits germinating as female have a thinner husk and a bigger coconut inside, so the sprout can easily emerge through the husk at the peduncle level. This could be checked more precisely by conducting a scientific experiment comparing the size and composition of these female and male fruits after growing them in a nursery.
The third characterization occurs when seedlings are aged from 1 to 2 months old in the nursery. The seedlings having large, wide, and oblong first leaves are said to be female. The seedlings with long and narrow first leaves are said to be male. The variation in leaf shapes could originate from genetic differences between the seedlings. The coconut palm has an intermediate reproductive system. Most of the fruits come from the crossing between 2 coconut palms. Some of the fruits come from self-pollination of the mother palm, and as there is an inbreeding depression, the resulting coconut palms produce 20 to 30% less than average. By selecting female, Polynesians may remove the seedlings originating from self-pollination. This could be checked by conducting a genetic experiment comparing the DNA structure of female and male seedlings after growing them in a nursery.
The fourth classification as female, male deals with the general aspect of the adult coconut palms. A fecund and productive palm, producing many coconuts, is called female. Palms producing few or no coconuts are called male. It should be noted that the Polynesians are not the only ones to assign a genus to trees. In Europe, in ancient times and in the Latin language, the names of trees were mostly feminine. The tree was perceived by the Romans as a feminine being because it bore fruit, or because it housed a nymph, a feminine deity. Then, in the French language, on the contrary, all the nouns of trees became masculine. I think I prefer the vision of the Romans to that of the French. In conclusion, we should arrive at a kind of fusion between traditional and scientific knowledge. These should benefit each other instead of contradicting or destroying each other. It is not always easy, as in this case. On the one hand, farmers say that some coconuts are either male or female. On the other side, botanical science tells us that every coconut tree is bisexual. Still, Farmer classifications are useful because we believe they select better seeds. Likewise, science's botany is useful. We must manage to keep these two representations.
Dear participants and colleagues, thank you for listening. Le deuxième qui est quoi?